I'm dying. I'm dying. I know I am. I have to get to the hospital right now. I started to realize that there was something really, really wrong. My heart was beating out of my chest. I was so shaky. I was so weak. And I realized that I couldn't feel my feet. When I glanced to the floor, I saw that my feet were purple. And when I glanced at my hands, I saw that my hands were purple. Then when I looked at my reflection in the mirror, I saw that my nose, my chin, and my cheeks were purple as well. I was dying, and I knew it. I immediately began to panic. My heart was beating out of my chest. I was seeing tunnel vision. I was sicker than I could ever explain. As I lay in a coma, that the doctors diagnosed me with something called meningococcal meningitis, which is a vaccine-preventable blood infection. I was given less than a 2% chance of living and immediately put on life support. We have no idea how I got it, so for all I know, somebody could have sneezed on me when I was in the elevator at work, and maybe that's how I got it. But due to this little microscopic bacteria, over the course of 2.5 months, I ended up losing my spleen, I lost my kidney function, I lost the hearing in my left ear, and due to the septic shock that my body went into, I ended up losing both of my legs below the knees. My life changed like that. I went from being a normal 19-year-old without a care in the world to now relying on machines, mechanics, and medical innovation in order to live and in order to even survive. And I thought the worst was over. That is, until I saw my new legs for the very first time. They were these bulky blocks of metal with pipes bolted together for the ankles. I don't know who designed these feet. You know, they try to make them look real, but they look like they were straight out of the plumbing department of Home Depot. They were hideous. And with my mom by my side and just tears streaming down our faces, I strapped on these chunky legs and I stood up. I was absolutely physically and emotionally broken. The thought of living the rest of my life with these hunks of hardware as my legs was depressing and overwhelming. And little did I know at that time that my biggest loss, my legs, would eventually become my biggest asset. But I think as soon as I got so sick and tired of being sick and tired, I knew that in order to move forward with my life, I had to somehow learn how to let go of the old Amy and somehow learn to embrace the new Amy. And that is when it dawned on me that the old Amy, I don't know, was maybe 5'5", but the new Amy, she could be 6 foot tall. I could be as tall as I wanted, or I could be as short as I wanted, depending on who I was dating at the time. It was times like these that first prompted me to ask myself, if my life were a book, and I was the author of that book, how would I want this story to go? I saw myself walking gracefully, and I saw myself somehow helping other people through my journey, and I saw myself snowboarding again. And I didn't just see myself carving down this mountain of powder, I visualized it so strongly that I could actually feel it. I could feel the wind against my face and the beat of my racing heart as if it was happening in that very moment. And that passion and that fire that I felt inside, that is when a new chapter of my life began. I was back up on a snowboard 4 months after losing my legs, although things didn't go quite as expected. I hit this bump completely out of control, and I fell, and my goggles went one way, and my beanie went the other way, and my legs, still attached to my snowboard, went flying down the mountain. And meanwhile, I was still sitting up on top of the mountain, completely embarrassed. I wasn't expecting that at all, and actually I heard a lady scream from the chairlift, which I'm sure she racked up years of therapy bills. Anyways, I remember I was just so discouraged, you know, and I could have easily thought, well, this is impossible. I obviously can't snowboard with 2 prosthetic legs. But I thought, if I could figure out a way to get my legs to move in the way that I need them to, and if I could figure out a way to keep these detachable body parts attached to my body, then I would be able to do this again. And that's when I learned that the obstacles and the challenges in our lives can only do 2 things. one, stop us dead in our tracks, or two, force us to get creative. So I decided to make a pair myself. My leg maker and I, we put random parts together and we made a pair of feet that I could snowboard in. And believe it or not, these babies actually worked like a charm. But it was these legs and the best 21st birthday gift that I could ever receive, a new kidney from my dad, that allowed me to follow my dreams and to snowboard again. And then I went on to be the first ever female to win a bronze medal in Paralympic snowboarding. Thank you. I've learned it's that change and it's that challenge that forces us to figure out what we're really made of. It makes us dig deep. It makes us find our fire, and it makes us get creative, because that's the only way to reach beyond the reality of this current moment, is by accepting what is, but most importantly, daydreaming of what could be. If you asked me today if I would ever want to change my situation, I would tell you guys no. Because my legs haven't disabled me. If anything, they enabled me. They forced me to rely on my imagination and to believe in the possibilities. And that's why I believe that our imaginations are huge tools for breaking through all the borders in our lives, because in our minds, we can do anything and we can be anything. It's believing in our dreams and facing our fears head on that allows us to live our lives beyond our limits.
Wow. Inspired.
You guys are amazing, by the way.
Aren't they incredible?
Yes.
You speak all over the world.
I speak all over the world, but I'll tell you what, I was more scared and nervous to speak here today than anywhere. Because this room has power.
She was incredible, wasn't she? Incredible. We're going to do a few minutes of Q&A with Amy. So if you guys have a question. Do we have mics down here? Let's go here first.
Thank you. You guys were seriously, this was just incredible. Yeah. I mean, the energy in this room is
electric,
unreal.
Right?
Absolutely.
They bring the passion. They bring the passion.
Hey, Amy. My name is Jacob. I'm from Hawaii, and I'm just you almost brought me to tears hearing your story. And I believe there's a purpose greater than anything we can even explain. And I feel like this moment right now is something greater. And just a quick little thing so you could get an understanding is actually...
Quick question.
Basically, my question is for the people I'm about to help, which is I worked with Miss Wheelchair Hawaii, and we're making a disabled training app for her 12-week transformation. And she got second place in Miss Wheelchair America and inspired hundreds and thousands of people just like you. And, you know, we're launching this next Friday, and all these people are going to be doing it. I want to have you give them inspiration and tell them what it takes to take that step of once feeling powerless and to change your perspective in life and feel empowered like how you are today.
So you wanted to share a message to you?
Share a message to all these people that will hear this message from you, because your story is exactly what I want them to go through on how you were in your situation where you thought that your life was over, but you were able to change your life and now inspire thousands of people. So I just want just like, what can you say to these people that are disabled or have these inabilities that you once faced?
So, first of all, I would say my TED Talk, a very short version of some of the stuff that I spoke about today. But really, I think if you work hard enough and you're passionate enough, that the possibilities are endless. I never say that anything's possible, because I think we all know not anything is possible. I mean, I'm not growing my legs back. Somebody in a wheelchair is not just going to get up and walk. But I think that if you work hard enough and you're passionate enough, that the possibilities of what you can achieve are endless. I mean, when I look back and I look at that video that of me dancing with my dad for the first time, standing on my legs for the very first time, who would have thought that I would go on to do Dancing with the Stars?
Crazy.
And that's why you can't give up on yourselves, because you never know what life has in store for you. And it really is, like I said, just about using what you have to get ahead. You know, I feel like every accomplishing challenge in my life, I wasn't prepared enough. I was injured going into the last Paralympic Games. I mean, there's always these things and always these challenges that are holding us back. It's about using what you have. Who here can say that you use what you have every single day, like to your fullest capacity? None of us. I don't think any of us really, I don't know if it's possible to reach that, but it's the idea that we have so much potential inside of us, and just to try to use what you have today to the best of your ability, that's what gets you ahead. And that's what I've really kind of learned and I guess been focused on in my life, is just using what I have. So
You've done amazing. It's been
thanks.
amazing. Right here.
Hi, my name's Sam. I'm from Columbus, Ohio. I am grateful
14?
I'm 14. Yeah. I'm grateful for time and having time to do things with the information that I'm getting here today from all these speakers.
Good to be 14, right?
Yeah, I know, right? I'm like, time.
Yeah. And my question is, so I just started snowboarding a few years ago, and on your mountaintops, literal and figurative, when you're heading down whatever, maybe that jump, or you're going to start your new program for the Paralympics and snowboarding, why don't you just like turn around? What keeps you at each individual moment to do that thing, make that jump, or whatever it may be?
You sure
Well,
you're
I
not
think-
24?
Yeah, I know, amazing.
I could never even just stand up in front of people.
I know, I could never stand up at 14 in front of this many people, so thank you. I think that you said it. You talked about time. And the thing is, I'm very aware that we don't have time, that anything can change tomorrow. Your lives can change so fast. And for me, I'm very aware of my own mortality. I know that what I'm doing today I might not have the opportunity to do tomorrow. So every single day that I wake up and I'm healthy and I'm strong, I have a kidney transplant that keeps me on my toes more than my feet do. Because with a kidney transplant, you never know if it's going to fail. I don't know if I'm going to need 5 kidney transplants in my life or if this one will last a lifetime. So every single day that I'm healthy, I'm using what I have. And I'm pushing myself. And I'm trying to figure out what the possibilities are. Because we don't have time. Not to scare you, but but you know, that's what inspires me. It's like every single day I'm healthy, I'm working, I'm doing it, I'm working towards my dreams, my passions, my goals. Every single day that I have what I have today. So, yeah. So
Go ahead and stand up. The one you were pointing to, yeah. Right here in the middle. You can pass it down. You see?
Hi.
Right here.
I'm Kim from San Francisco, California. And I'm grateful for just all the stories. Like you said, like the stories are just so powerful. My question to you is, man, you've got this resume that's ridiculous. So my question is, what's next?
Oh my gosh. So it's kind of interesting. So like Lewis said, I travel all over the world, and I usually speak to corporate events. I will speak to 20,000 people at a time, and it's all corporate, and it feels nothing like this. This is amazing. I love what I do, though. I get to connect with so many amazing people, and I hear so many different stories and share my stories. But there's a bit of a disconnect because I almost live in a bubble. Even though I'm speaking to thousands of people at a time, I'm in this little bubble because if you're not sitting in there with me, you don't get to hear it. I don't get to connect with you. So I'm learning so much just being here today because I'm trying to learn how to reach out more to the followers that I have. When I have little kids come up to me in tears and saying that my story changed their life, like that's what I want to do more of. I'm really inspired by our younger generation, and I feel like they have more challenges than any of us have had with social media and trying to figure out where you fit in the world. And so I'm really inspired to reach out to more of these young kids, but in order to do that, there's a little bit of a bridge that needs to be made from my world of living in this bubble to being able to reach out more to my followers out there and be able to create the content really that the younger generation is going to, actually get something from. So what's moving forward is a passion and somewhat of a question mark. So we'll see how I do that. Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Hi, my name is Kendall Crane. I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. My question is, I've talked to a lot of people this weekend, and a lot of feedback that I've gotten, or trying to figure out the word, a lot of what I've heard is that we're all kind of in this space where we're learning to tell our story. And like, I'm personally in a place where I'm transcending my pain, and like, you've gone through a lot of transition and transcending. I would love some tips on how you learn to tell your story, and any tips you would have for the people here.
Did you have a speaker coach?
So I'll tell you what, I called my speaking coach this morning. I haven't talked to her in probably a year.
Wow.
Because this event had so much power to me that I was like, I just want to make sure I'm on the right track here. And she's so amazing. She's never helped me write my speeches at all. She just reminds me of what's important. She reminds me that being vulnerable, that getting up here, and even if your voice cracks and you have tears going down your face, that's what matters. Because you know what? We think too much. Like, our heads are constantly going, especially with the room of game changers like you guys. We always have something to do and go, and we're educating ourselves, and we're on Instagram, and we're feeding our brains. It's rare that we actually sit back and get to open our hearts. And so that's why it's so important to share our stories. And that's why I say that the stories that you are most scared to share, the ones that you are embarrassed about, the ones that you think, I could never share that story because nobody would ever understand, those are the stories that you should be sharing. Even if your voice cracks, even if you cry, those are the stories that will transform the world. Those are the stories that will inspire the people around you. So I think just everybody has a story. We all have a story. And sometimes people come up to me and they'll say, I'm really inspired by your story, but I don't have a story. So how do I inspire other people? And I think that's wrong. We all have a story. But I think we have to be careful with the stories that we tell ourselves, because those are the most important and powerful stories of all. Because those stories shape who we become. So I'm up here just as nervous and scared as any of you would be getting up here sharing your story. Every single time I share my story, I relive it. And I do my best to I do my best to share the journey of it. It's crazy that I'm called a motivational speaker because I don't go up and do the Tony Robbins kind of stuff. Like, I just share my experiences and what I've learned through them. And I hope that somebody in the audience can relate and that it impacts them to be able to move forward with their lives. So that's all it's about. It's about truly, truly just being you and being your most vulnerable self.
Who's up top? Anyone up top? Anyone up top have a question? I can't see. Okay, I don't see anyone. Anyone down here?
I know, it's
in
so
the back,
hard to see
in the
up
back
here.
here.
Okay.
Go ahead. In the back here. I've neglected them up there for a while, so that's probably why.
I know, there's lights up here, so we
it's
kind of
hard to
don't see all of you, but we know you're there.
Go ahead.
I'm from Toronto, Canada. My son is not able to use his legs. He has CP. He has a disability. And I'm trying to write my story. And I want to know if there's a ritual or something that you do, and our last speaker said, what do you do every day to keep you going the way you're going and to help inspire us all?
You know what? I want to write a second book that's all about inspiration and how you do just that. Like, how do you wake up every day feeling inspired? And actually, I think you had one of the best answers that I've heard. We did an Insta story on my Instagram, and
what'd I say? I can't remember.
no, you said it's having the big picture. It's the big picture, because you can get really caught up in the challenges of what we're trying to accomplish here. Like, every day waking up, like, I have to sit down and write. I have to, like, all this stuff is hard. It is not easy, and there's nobody making you do it. So, like, you have to do it yourself. But if you have that bigger picture of your why, like, if you know your why, the how will always figure itself out. You know, you have to be clear on those intentions. If you know your why, and for me, my why is that my why is honestly the little kids who come up to me who say that I've changed their life, or the lady who comes up to me that says that somehow hearing my story, she lost 100 pounds and it made her feel like she could follow her dreams as well. Like, it's so important to share these stories. And so even though there's all this work that's involved, and even though life can be really difficult, I think that it's just having that bigger picture, knowing your why. And I'm just so inspired by who I get to meet that's my why.
One more, final question. Right here. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
I have one down here. I already picked it right here. Go ahead.
Hey, Allie from New Orleans. Who dat? Hey, Louis, Amy. Loved you on Dancing with the Stars. I voted for you hundreds of times.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
And I was fascinated by how you got through it. And watching the show, I see the vulnerability of the celebrities. So, what was your biggest takeaway and your experience from Dancing with the Stars?
Gosh, let me think, man. First of all, I went on Dancing with the Stars. I didn't want to be the first one eliminated. That's all I had really high hopes for myself. I had no idea. I had no idea if anybody with 2 prosthetic legs has ever done that before. Dancing 7 hours a day for 7 days a week for 3 months straight. I didn't know if my legs would move in the way that I needed them to. But I was so motivated to just figure out what the possibilities were. Like, I didn't know what was possible, but I also put a lot of pressure on myself because I knew people were watching me, because they too were trying to figure out what the possibilities are. Like, what can somebody with 2 prosthetic legs actually do on Dancing with the Stars? And so we had to get really creative, and we made different feet. Every single week was a challenge. Every single week, I'm telling you, as much as I want to say that we were like, we got this, positive thinking, no. Every single week we thought we were done. Every week we were like, how are we going to do this? It would get to the end of the week and it would be an absolute mess, and I would have feet overnighted and we'd try to make them work. But every single week we figured it out. Every week we figured out a way. So I go back to, like, if you're passionate enough and you know your why and you're willing to work hard enough, then the possibilities of what you can do are endless. And I had this why. I was like, well, first of all, I'm not going to, there's no way I'm going to fall on my face on national television. That was one big why, but also I really wanted to figure out what was possible so that a little kid who's sitting back watching TV, who has a prosthetic leg, can say, if she can do that, I can do that too.